Hello. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Morning to everyone on set, and morning to my esteemed viewers this very, very morning. It's so glad to have everybody again today on this platform. Started running this from last week, and now we've continued this week. Okay, so Chukuka, are you online? Can you please say hello to everyone?
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us again today. It's been an amazing couple of days from last week Friday when we started. Thank you for joining us so far. It's been so amazing, and I'm sure that you must have learned quite a bit. Let me just see your comments in the comment section now of how excited you have been. Say hi to your friends in the comment sections. If they're not here, share the post to them, call them up. We need your energy, and today promises to be a lot more exciting. Thank you for coming on board.
Hi, Grace. We can see you too. Hi. Now, I love the energy. Thank you so much, Chukuka. And yeah, it reminds me that this is actually an online youth engagement. So we want to see the energy from the youth this period. Thank you, Chuks Uche. This is amazing. We find it amazing too. Okay. So I know you people have learned a lot from last week, and this week there's been series and series and series of sessions ranging from sex talks to wealth management and basically how to create wealth and other things, time management. And it's been, even we are on the side of the panelists and on the side of the anchors, we get to learn a lot, and we get to, see things from new and different perspectives. And I can only imagine how much you have been blessed by all of these sessions. Okay, so without further ado, I would introduce myself and my co-anchor. I introduced myself last week Friday, but for those of you who did not join last week Friday, my name is Patience Ajogbo, and with me is Chukwuka Dele Oyeleru, and we will be the anchors for today's session. Now, today promises to be mind-blowing. I know we've not yet started we've not yet heard from the panelists, but I can tell you that even me as the anchor, I'm very expectant, because the two people that we are joining to on this session, they are powerhouses and they are experts in their own rights. So by this time last week, we were dealing with a topic, called wealth creation and financial management, basically. And we learned a lot of things from Pastor Deolu, Pastor Noel, Sister Esther, Sister Motunrayo. And one important thing that we learned is that young people, nobody owes you anything. Do not have the entitlement mentality. And we will also continue on that plane to discuss today, and we'll let you know that your career is in your own hands. You have to learn basic skills. You have to know how you can be relevant to this generation and even in the future. So I would implore you to stay tuned, listen carefully to the end of this session. Put down your questions in the comment section, and the panelists will be available to take your questions. But before I go on, thank you, Priscilla. We are also excited. Before I go on, we will take a brief highlight of last week's message from Brother David Okuta. So, Brother David, we can have you now.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I would love to join you with my video, but I seem to have some people take over my workspace, so I'll just join you without a video. Okay, so can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, so let's go. Okay, they already even sharing all of my slides. Interesting. Well, slides from last week. So yes, last week we had two wonderful guests, Moturayo Adefamoti, Pastor Deolu, in the studio with us, and then they spoke about specular time, of course, which is the main theme of the program, and how money influences the things we do. And then one of the first things that they said was that, so in dark moments, everyone would go through dark moments, everyone will we go through times where nothing seems to be working. And at that such moments, your experience doesn't count, who you know doesn't count, what you can do doesn't count, your expertise doesn't count. It's a function of your faith, the faith that you have in God. Your faith in God is what can keep you, what can take you through such moments. Okay, and then not just faith now. Your faith must also be anchored on purpose. So there is a purpose connected to your faith. So why do you believe what you believe? To what purpose is the extent of your belief? That is, so it's not just that you have faith, but you must have faith with a purpose to it. Then going further, they said money is an indicator. So sometimes people behave in certain ways, people behave in certain take certain positions, but by the time they come in contact with money, when they become loaded, it's when you now get to know who they really are. Is this guy really humble? Because yeah, he doesn't have money today and he's extremely humble, but when he gets into money, when he's wealthy, you now get to know what really drives him, what really is his core value. So money is an indicator for building wealth also. So we get to know what your core values are by the time we see how you handle money. So if you get some money and you start driving biggest cars in the world, which is not a bad thing anyway, but we see how you're spending that money. It just tells us what really is, what the things you owed dearly. So money is an indicator. And then one other thing which they also said was, sometimes young people, we seem to have people we want things from. My uncle get me a job, my aunt should help me with, give me a visa to come to America, my father's landlord knows the president, so he should help me get a contract from Asherok and all that stuff. But nobody owes you anything. Whatever you get from anybody, it's a gift. It's a free it's a free will gift. It's just something. Oh, thank you very much. But to now begin to have that expectation, that demand, that forceful believe that, oh, this person ought to do this for you, this person should have done that, you're actually not helping yourself, because by the time the person doesn't do it, you are the one who gets hurt, and your hurt would get you angry, and when you get angry, you start misbehaving. Eventually you hurt yourself. But when you live with the mindset of nobody owes you anything, you look up to God and you work hard, you put all the things you've been learning, put them into work, then of course with God's help and whoever God also decides to use in form of a man, things will get done. But when you come with the mindset of yeah, my uncle did not pay my school fees, or my auntie did not give me a job, or my landlord who knows the president didn't do this and that, you're just not helping yourself. So that's amongst many other things, where most of the things we discussed. Patience, Chuka, do you want to add something to what I said? And of course, before I go, we also spoke about Warren Buffett, how he lives his life, in spite of being wealthy, but he keeps pushing, he keeps learning, he keeps striving to be better.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, David. We might have lost you a bit there, but thank you for the highlights shared. For me, one of the high points of last week's session was the fact that Pastor Deolu said something, and he said, you are a channel through which money passes. You are not a collection point. And he also reminded us of the fact that we also give account of, the money and the resources that God has given to us at the end of the day. So you are a channel and you are not a collection point. That was one keynote for me. But then let us move right ahead to the business of the day. Straight to the business of the day. So sometimes, during the week, I sat back, I looked at the topic for today, I looked at the topic for last week, and in my head somewhere, I told myself, last week was maybe more for entrepreneurs, and this week is maybe more for the career professional. But then that is just it in my head. So I am hoping that our panelists will be able to provide some clarification on who exactly should be mindful about their relevance in the future workforce. So that brings me to the topic of today. The topic of today is relevance to future workforce. I'll repeat it again, relevance to future workforce. So I hope you all are excited and ready to learn, because I mean, we can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, but it is important to be in a business to make money. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to be able to, even to fulfill scripture. So give to God, be profitable, honor your parents, give them money, do this and do that. Somehow you need to be financially empowered to be able to meet up with the demands of your society, to be able to provide for your family in future, and as well to be able to invest in the kingdom of God and also give to those around you in need. Praise the Lord. So today we have two very powerful panelists. I know I've been saying they are powerful since. You will know why I said they are powerful very soon. One is Mrs. Adeidunnu Uba, and the other is Mrs. Christina Soname. I hope I got that pronunciation correctly. Yeah. So I will go ahead to introduce Mrs. Adeidunnu Uba, while my co-anchor, Chukwuka, would introduce Christina. Reading out the profile, I probably have to, take a deep breath and read it out, because this is quite a lot. Now, what I have here, Adeidunnu Uba, or Mrs. Uba, like I call her, is the founder of an executive consultant with Simply Unforgettable, a professional services firm that helps organizations and discerning individuals develop and implement memorable learning and development programs and targeted events for staff and other stakeholders. Now, I'm sure by now you are wondering, Simply Unforgettable, okay, is that the reason why she's a powerhouse? Hold on, I'm coming. Her career was birthed in private legal practice, grounded in early cross-functional experience in the high-pressure Nigerian oil and gas industry. Those of you that want to move into oil and gas, sit down and listen so that you will learn how to get into that industry. Plus crossover experience in one of Africa's fastest growing telecoms markets. Telecommunications as well. I want to work in Please sit down and listen today. She also has 2 decades. 2 decades means 20 years. I mean, how many of you are up to 20? Age range, or how old were you, by the time she was gathering these experiences? She has 2 decades of parallel involvement in the faith-based nonprofit sector. Now, while handling the people development portfolio at Adax Petroleum, Mrs. Uba was responsible for learning and development, performance and competency management, and organizational development. As HR business partner, she was responsible for providing a diverse range of HR-related services to drive effective people management within the business groups she supported. She was also responsible for coordinating HR business planning activities. She's an associate. She's an associate for talent development, and also holds a UKCIM accredited diploma in event management for marketing communications from the Event Academy, London. She's an alumnus of the highly intensive African Women's Entrepreneurship Cooperative, a project of the Center of Global Enterprise. She's also a member of the Society for Human Resource Management. I can tell you a bit of her previous roles. She has been Human Resources Manager at Realtel, Zoom Mobile. She was also Human Resources Head at Vertical Grey, Nigeria, which is a General Electric oil and gas company. And she was also Human Resources Manager at Adax Petroleum, Nigeria. In addition to this, she has had early career experiences, including extremely beneficial periods in legal practice, administration, and finance. Did I mention she's a lawyer? Yes, she is a lawyer, and that is one of the reasons why I like and always love to listen to Mrs. Uba when she speaks. Mrs. Uba, you're welcome. Okay, so Chukwuka, you can go ahead and introduce Mrs. Christina before we go on to the business for the day.
So for me personally, this is one of the downsides of having virtual events. You can't have all those round of applauses and standing ovations. So I just go ahead and say, ah! Welcome on board. It's so good to have you here. Thank you so much. And now going on to our second powerhouse, I would like to welcome and introduce Miss Christina. Oftentimes people often mistake her name for Christiana, so it's Christina. Please, Christina Soname. So I just read out her portfolio. So Miss Christine, Mrs. She's married, so yes. Mrs. Christina Soname is an excellent management consultant, corporate trainer, and speaker. She's a leading career coach and training consultant whose mission is to inspire young professionals to embrace the dignity of labor and commit to a culture of excellent stewardship in their personal and professional lives. She's the author of Dear Young Professional, a fictional storified book which looks at the real stories of real professionals in the workplace. So this is what the book looks like, and Mrs. Baz then graciously decided to give out 3 of these to our trivia winner. So you might want to you will definitely want to stay back and then participate actively in the quizzes that will be coming up later on towards the end of the sessions. The book draws out practical insights to help young professionals navigate the world of work and experience accelerated career growth. Christina is a first-class graduate of economics from Babcock University, Nigeria. She's an associate member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and an associate member of the Learning and Development Network International and a fellow of the International Management Consultants Certification Board. Christina is also a member of the international renowned John Maxwell team. Christina leads the consulting team at LYD Consulting Limited, a fast-rising firm of management consultants and corporate trainers. She's responsible for coordinating, consulting, and training engagements for clients across industries, including major banks in Nigeria. Christina has designed and deployed training interventions for organizations like Google, Lagos Business School, GT Bank, First Bank, Union Bank, Standard Pension Managers, and many other organizations. Aside her core function as a consultant, she's hosted as a speaker at workshops and conferences, and she enjoys comparing formal and semi-formal events. Ms. Christiana, do you want us to switch sides today? And very, very importantly, she is married to her best friend, Oluwagbemiga Soname. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Thank you so much, Ms. Christina.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chukwuka. That was a mouthful. For me, reading out the profiles alone was, we've already started this session. We're already learning. We are already learning. And I'm sure one thing I would like to learn, I'm just giving you a tip into what me personally I would like to learn, is how you manage to achieve all of this and balance, basically work-life balance, how you've achieved work-life balance. So I hope you would, talk about that in the course of the conversation. Yeah, thank you very much, Christina. I see the thumbs up. Okay, so without further ado, we would quickly jump to the program for the day. Are you a young professional, aspiring young professional? Are you a university student, even a secondary school student? Please stay tuned and listen carefully. Grab your pen, grab your notepad, and take notes, take lessons, take practical tips to be relevant for the global workforce and the future workforce. So also, remember the trivia at the end. So there are books to win and there is data to win as well. So listen carefully and so that you'll be able to answer questions at the end. Thank you very much. Christina, Mrs. Uba, the floor is yours. Tell us what you have for us about the relevance to the future workforce.
Okay, so why don't I go first? It's great to be here. Thank you very much for inviting us. I'd like to say thank you to the organizers of the Eagles Youth Online Engagement. Every time I want to say it, youth camp comes to my mouth because we're used to that. So I have to keep reminding myself to say it deliberately, online engagement. It's really, really an honor to be here. And as I just listened to the recaps from last week, I was there, I watched it live, and it was such a mind-blowing session from Muturayo and Pastor Adeidunnu. And a number of the things that they shared last week, I think will keep coming up and resonating as we go along today. So I think the first thing that I'd like to speak to, as my learned colleague Patience was introducing the session, one of the things she said was perhaps last week where we talked about money matters, etc., is more relevant to entrepreneurs, whereas today is more relevant to career workers. And let me start by saying, learned colleague, I beg to differ. Okay? And why do I beg to differ? I beg to differ because the issue of relevance to the future workforce is important to everyone, regardless of whether you're planning to go into paid employment or you are planning to become an employer yourself. Because if you're an entrepreneur, you are planning to be an employer. You're employing yourself and you are employing other people. So it's critical for us to understand what the future workforce is going to be like. And I dare say, frankly, that future has backpedaled to meet us where we are today. And we'll talk about that a bit more as we go along. So I thought it was important as we kick off to kind of lay that foundation. This is great for everyone. It's something we need to be thinking about. It's something we need to be focusing on. It's something we need to be planning for, whether we're running our own businesses, whether we are planning to be employed, whether we are in school. And this one I would like to emphasize particularly. Again, Patience had mentioned, if you're a young professional, if you are in school, and I was so glad that she mentioned that, because I mean, over the last few years, this is a subject I've become particularly passionate about, not just because of my professional interests, which is human resources management. This is what I've done for about 20 years. It's a passion I have. I absolutely love to do this. But even more important for me on this question of relevance to the future workforce is the fact that we need to be thinking about the sort of future that our children are going to need to work in. I'm a mom of 4 daughters, ranged between 17 and 9 years old. And the question that I have to keep asking myself is, how can I position my children to be relevant to the workforce of the future? Because, hey guys, I'm going to share a couple of statistics with us. The workforce that we are seeing today, or perhaps I should say the workforce that we were seeing 6 months ago, is radically different. The requirements are radically different from the workforce of today. And it's going to keep changing. And I'm sure Christina will speak a bit more to this. And even Patience, because Patience, you're a consultant as well, and this is a subject that I know that you're pretty familiar with. So I think this is going to be a really, really interesting conversation. So what did I want to do first? I wanted us to lay the foundation that this is great for all of us across the spectrum of professional interest or business interest, as well as across the age spectrum, as low as primary school. As low as primary school. Okay. Now, having said that, the other question I'm sure some people will be wondering is, excuse me, this is spiritual matters we're supposed to be talking about here now. What has workforce, money, got to do with spiritual matters? And I think it's important for us to lay this foundation as we go ahead so we can get those sort of thinking out of the way. One of the first things that God did when he made man was to put him in the garden. And what did he say to him when he put him in the garden? He told him to dress the garden. People, that is work. Okay? Because sometimes there's a misconception that work came as a result of the fall. Work is a part of God's plan for human beings. That's number one. And throughout the thread of the scriptures, God speaks to issues around how we deal with work, how we interact with work, and what we should be doing. One of the biggest scriptures for me is, whatever we do, do as unto the Lord. That includes work, right? So as we are thinking about how relevant we are to the workforce of the future, we should be remembering that we are viewing this both from a professional lens as well as from the lens of people who are representing God in that workplace. Okay? So that's another thing that I wanted us to bear in mind. Of course, the Bible says, he that does not work should not eat, right? So also, people, remember, we have to be able to position ourselves to be able to be productive and work and deliver. So those are some of the baseline considerations that I wanted us to bear in mind. And I'm sure as we go along, some of these things may come up again. Now, let's talk about the future workforce for a bit. As I did say in the intro, and I'm going to be, this is the last thing I'm going to say before I kind of hand over to Christina for a bit. The workforce, or the requirements for the workforce or the workplace since March till today has changed radically. And we can start to think about some of the things that have changed. The fact that we are doing this online is enough evidence that things have changed. These were things that everybody had to get together to do. So what's the number one thing that has changed? Digital capabilities are no longer an option. The ability to interact with digital tools and technology is now a must. In fact, I was speaking to somebody late last night and I said, not just are they a must, they are considered a baseline. They are considered, you can't even start to have a conversation if you cannot interact with technology. So one of the things that I will start to say to young people who are trying to position themselves for the future, as well as older people like me, I'm on my way to 50 now, the workforce is changing. The requirements are changing. And it's not going to slow down for us. Whether we are millennials, whether we are Y generation, X generation, we have to change to become what is required for the workforce of the future. Okay, so capability to interact digitally and with technology is no longer an option. That's number one. And in fact, as I said, it's now a baseline. A couple of other things that have changed. One of the things that I say to people, I spent some time in an organization that I truly loved to work for. And at some point in time, I had a few conversations with some of my superiors and my colleagues and said, hey, you know what? Why don't we change things around a bit? Why don't we start to work from home? This is stuff that we're already doing in other parts of the world, at least in some places. So why don't we implement this here? I know some of the feedback that came back was, hey, Ade, this is a great idea, but we don't quite think Nigeria is ready for that. Hey, people, ready or not, here it is, right? And, the interesting thing is that's exactly how the world of the future, or the requirements for the workforce of the future, will creep up on us if we do not prepare for it. Okay, so the second thing that is defining the capabilities required for the workforce of the future is that work is going to become more and more virtual. Okay, so digital capability is no longer an option. Virtual working is going to become more and more. In fact, the statistics show that today you have about 50% of the workforce working from home, and it's going to grow. It's going to grow, and that is going to change a lot of things radically. For example, what is it going to change? An example of what it's going to change is our ability to be able to do several things at the same time. Prior to now, it was considered, oh, you have to focus only on one thing and get it done. That's the only way to function. I can say to you that the workforce of the future is going to have what I call cognitive flexibility. So that's simply big language for being able to switch quickly from one thing to the other. Okay, I see Christina nodding. I'm sure you'll speak more about this as we progress. Cognitive flexibility is going to be a critical skill for the future. While not focusing yet on skills for the future, I just thought I should mention that because we're laying a foundation for what is changing, what is going to drive the workforce of the future. I've said two things. I've said interaction with, I've said digital capabilities. I've talked about the fact that virtual working is real. The third thing, which has actually made this a conversation that has been going on in the HR people development space for quite a while and is now coming into the general public space, is the fact that technology is going to change the way we work. And I'm not just talking about digital capabilities now. I'm talking about robotics and things like that. Already, there is a lot of that changing. And some people may think, oh, that's in the abroad, as we say. Believe me, it's not just in the abroad. It's happening here as well. And whatever happens out there very, very quickly rolls down here. Some of the statistics I said I was going to share with us, let me just give you a couple of numbers. Based on how technology is taking over the workplace and how it's going to continue to take over the workplace, 54%, that's a huge number, that's over half. 54% of workers who are in employment today will need a significant amount of reskilling between now and 2022. That's a huge number. 54% of workers. So guys, like I said, even those of us who are old people, so to speak, have to start thinking, how am I going to remain relevant? So this is great for our kids. This is great for us as well. 54%. And so this data is freely available. We can check out the World Economic Forum Future of Work, Future of Jobs report 2018. It's online. Google it. The data is there. 54% of work will require significant reskilling by 2022. Guess what? The other thing is this. There will be 16 to 27% of the jobs that we will start to see will not have existed today. So that's almost 30% of jobs that will exist by 2022 are not in existence today. What does that mean for us? It means that we have to start to prepare for a future that we can't even see, right? So, I mean, those are some of the things that I wanted to share with us to kind of lay the foundation. The last number that I will share is that 42% of work by 2022 will be performed by machines. 42%. What does that mean? It means that a lot of the work that people are doing today is going to become extinct. So if I'm doing repetitive work today, if I'm doing even things like calculations, frankly, a lot of accounting work is going to be done by machines. Christina, sorry, I know you're an accountant, but a lot of accounting work is, okay, I see Patience saying it's already been done, right? It's going to be done by machines. So we're not going to need bookkeepers anymore. Even in smaller businesses, even in SMEs, because we're having the collaborative economy where small businesses will be able to come together to use this technology. It's not just for big businesses anymore. So even in the small businesses that you think will continue to employ bookkeepers, things like bookkeeping, things that are repetitive work like that will very quickly go out or will be extinct because they're going to be done by machines. So the question then is, how do we want to position ourselves? What are the sorts of jobs we should be looking forward to prepare ourselves for? And beyond that, if we're not planning to work for other people, what are the sort of skills that we need to prepare for to be able to function as entrepreneurs in that type of economy? And so I will rest my case at the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Uba. Just before Christina comes up, that was a mind-blowing session. I also have to catch my breath. But I have a quick announcement to make to all our viewers and listeners. It is important for you to know that these two speakers, our powerhouses, as I call them, are not just successful career-wise, they are also successful women of God. They are Christians and they are children of God, standing for God, even in the workplace. I am so glad to be a part of this session. Also, for those of you who missed last week's session on wealth creation and financial management, you can look in the comment section, whether you're joining us on YouTube, on Facebook, or whatever platform you're joining us on. Look in the comment section. The link to last week's session is going to be placed there for you to go back to refresh your memory or learn a thing or two. So thank you very much, Mrs. Uba. That was very profound. Christina, we are going over to you. Mrs. Uba gave us some, would I say damning statistics? No, they're not damning, because it is not damning for us. It's for us to know and take advantage of it and prepare for the future. I saw 54% of workers, would require reskilling before 2022. Reskilling on what? What are we learning? Mrs. Uba said we are preparing for a future that we do not even know yet. We cannot see. Or is it possible for you to give us, something imaginative for us to prepare for. So we even know the kind of skills to start to learn in preparation for 2022. Over to you, Mrs. Christina.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's good to be here. Thank you for the invite. I would jump right into addressing the question that Patience just raised. But just before that, I would say that, yes, indeed, we're not just sharing about work. We're not just people who are successful or getting it or improving or doing great things at work. We are believers. And I must say that personally, a lot of things that have guided the way I work over the years, a lot of things that have formed the principles by which I work are things that I've learned from the Bible. And I must say that that has paid off really well for me, because I have a really good track record as an employee, so to speak, in my own work life. You know, a few weeks ago, I was launching my book, and my current employer said a few things that really touched my heart. He said, "Christina, you are every employer's dream employee." And I was very encouraged by that statement. And why am I mentioning it? Because I want to emphasize that there's a lot of wisdom in the Bible which has helped me shape my career, you know, into what it is today. I have a history of not just being a part of a team or just being among the numbers. For me, it's one way, is greatness. What is the fastest way I can get to the top? What I'm always looking to do things differently and stand out. And that's what brings me to seeking out wisdom from scriptures. And I always find them. And that's so important for us as young people. Don't only because you're a Christian, that's the more reason why you should be great, all right? Because that puts you at an advantage over everybody else. The fact that you're a child of God and you want to be able to utilize that advantage as a career person, as an entrepreneur, and with whatever it is that you do. That's so important. So let me move right into the conversation. Mrs. Uba already gave such an amazing foundation, and I really appreciate how she took time to break this down. One thing I want to start by saying is when we hear about the future of work, it has almost become a buzzword or buzz phrase in recent times. You just hear it. Why is the workplace even changing? Right? Let me start from there. Why all these changes? The point is, before now, a few years ago, what is driving the change is the fact that customer needs, customer interest, customer concerns are changing. The things that people are interested in having is so different. And I'll make it very practical. Young people here, you can relate to this. A few years ago, all our parents probably desired, or all we desired from banks, is to walk in and be responded to very quickly. We just wanted to be able to do our transaction quickly and be out of the bank. But right now, we don't even want to go to the bank. We're saying, why can't I do it from my home? Why can't I do it from my bed? So you see, that switch in our demand is what is now making it such that organizations have to begin to adjust and improve on the kinds of products and services that they make available, because people are demanding more. They want it faster, they want it easier. And because of that changing demand, organizations are having to make changes to the way they produce those things, those products, those services. And at the heart of those activities that result in products or services are people, you and I, employees. So if the organization is going to be able to thrive, if the product, if the service that the organization is rendering will keep being relevant, will keep meeting the changing needs of customers, it will need to be driven by people who are positioned to meet those needs, who are positioned to move even faster than the pace of the customer's demands, so that before the customer even says, I want this, it is available. Because there are people, and think about it, the great organizations that we know in the tech space or whatever space, it's not the name, it's not the name that is the organization, it's the people. It's the people that are making things happen. So the question is, how are you making things happen for your own employer? How are you ensuring that there's relevance, you're able to meet your customers' needs, you're able to even do more than the customers require? This is the foundation of why there's all these changes. That's why you're seeing more robotics and more AI, because organizations are saying, I want to be able to meet my people's needs. Before they even think about it, you're still thinking about, I need to buy this, and you do a search on your computer and it shows up. That's the whole point, because we want to be able to meet your changing needs. And that's the reason why you must also evolve. So let me take you to some of the statistics that Mrs. Uba already shared, talking about how, there will be all that. She mentioned 45% of work will be performed by machines. That's not something to be afraid of. And that's another thing I want to emphasize here. It's just like Patience mentioned, it's not a damning statistic. What you need as a professional or a business person is to be aware and position yourself. Knowledge is everybody's mountain is their ignorance. What you don't know is harming to you. So you're aware and you then begin to position yourself. While some jobs are phasing out, new job opportunities are also being created. So it's either you choose to focus on the part of, oh, I might lose my job, or, oh, new jobs are coming. How can I be ready for them? And I hope that you choose to be in the later part, all right? Because that's where you need to be. There's no need to be afraid. Even if it's clear to you that, if I one of the conversations I had a lot during the period of the lockdown and all is, some people move from being at a role where, for example, in their division, it was the most profitable, in their employment, their units, they were the unit that was bringing in a lot of profit. But because of the lockdown and everything, monies were not coming in. So one moment you were the star boy at your employment, next thing, your unit is not even relevant. You see that kind of switch. It can be disheartening. You can go into an emotional turmoil, but you need to come out of that and say, so where is the money? So what is happening now? And that's the question our patients was really asking, to say, okay, if some jobs are going, what's really happening now? To start with, on a basic level, two things that the world needs a lot more than ever before now, has always needed, but it's more amplified now: problem solvers and salespeople. The world is in need of problem solvers, people that can solve problems and people that can sell solutions. So whatever it is you're doing, you can be anything, but make sure you are a problem solver and someone who is able to sell solutions. That's as basic as we can see the future. This will not go extinct. So the question is, this is no longer a time to just be like, you know what, I have a 9 to 5, I wake up, I go to work, and I come back. What problem are you solving for your employer? If you cannot name it, that by being here, I am solving this problem, this X problem in this organization, X problem for my customer, X problem for my employer, there's an issue. If you cannot right now say, this is the solution I am selling for my employer, selling to my customers, selling to my clients, there's an issue. Those two things are very important, and they will keep ensuring that as the evolving happens, you are able to pay attention and focus on what is relevant and what matters. Mrs. Uba spoke about, the idea of being able to move very quickly, learn fast. And I picked that because that's so important. I named it here as learning agility. She called it cognitive flexibility. I called it learning agility. And it's really saying that you have to, because we're saying you need to upskill or reskill, you just have to be open to it. When you're online, are you spending all your time just socializing or giving a good portion of your time to also learning? Because a lot of information is now available. In fact, now more than ever, you don't have any excuse because there are free things going on. There's a lot on various platforms that you can just tap into and get yourself informed and skill up. So now more than ever, you have to don't just hold tight to your chest and just be like, you know what, I'm an accountant and that's it. You have to be asking yourself, where are the opportunities in accounting? Where are the new doors opening in accounting? Mrs. Uba has something to say, and I'll take her shortly as I round up. What are the new opportunities in my industry? What is the future of my industry? What are the jobs that are opening up? One time, there was nothing like social media managers and content creators as roles in organizations. But guess what? That has been created and is now such a major role. There was nothing like digital marketers or those there were some roles that didn't exist, but now we're seeing them. It's the same way in 2 years' time, there will be new roles. So you literally have to watch the trends and be informed. It's no longer optional to participate in conferences, read up materials that inform you about the trends in your industry so that you can immediately start to take steps to ensure that you are relevant. Why is this important? Because those who are ready first will get great advantage. I call it the first mover advantage. The one we can find very quickly. The ones that when we say we are looking for and they are the first that are available, those ones would, short of saying cash out very quickly, because the others would then have to play catch up. So I hope that you are, in summary, leaning towards the side of being aware and informed and positioning for the future, rather than looking backward and saying, where did all this change come from? Because the change is real, the change is here, and we must all embrace it.
Wow, thank you very much, Christina. That was so much within a very short time that we gave to you. You know, one thing you said that was very profound. You said jobs are phasing out and new jobs are coming up. Which one are you going to focus on? Young people, which one are you going to focus on? Those that are ready first have the first advantage. They're the first ones that are going to cash out, and every other person will be playing catch up. Thank you very much for those profound, words of, would I call them words of wisdom? I hope you people are taking notes, young people. And remember, if you have any questions for them, put them in the comment section. They are here. You have a hold of them now, so you can ask them questions. That's the reason why we are on online platform. So I want to be able to start reading out your questions to them because we have a limited time for this session. Thank you very much again. Once again, Christina. Just still on this skill, would I say reskilling or gaining more skills? What you are doing now is, from what you have said, what I see you do is push it back to the person asking you the question and say, look into your sector and find out which skill you should learn. I don't have to tell you everything, but I would beyond those specific skills for each sector, maybe accounting specific skills or legal specific skills. Are there general soft skills or behavioral skills or an approach to doing things that you think young people have to start picking up from this time? I remember talking to somebody that said, you can no longer afford to just have the employee mindset. You have to run as an entrepreneur, even as an employee. So are there all those kind of soft behavioral skills, emotional intelligence that you think, the millennials, Generation Y, and whatever generation is coming after that can begin to pick up on and build within this time to prepare for the future workforce? So I think Mrs. Uba or Christina can take the question.
Okay, I'm sure Christina will have quite a bit to say about this because she's a millennial. But I mean, I can say a few things. I think the first thing that I'd like to say is that before I focus on the specific skills that we need to start to look at for the future, I think there's one thing that Christina said that we have to take very seriously. And I want to knock it down a bit. It's about the fact that as believers, we should not look to the future with fear. Okay? Why should we not look to the future with fear? Because we have a God that has seen the end from the beginning. So there is nothing that is coming to him that is fresh or that is new. What can we do? We can press into him. I made a statement. I said we're preparing for a future that we cannot fully see. You can never fully see the future. But I remember a man of God who said, the best way to know the future is to create it. Okay? So the best way to know the future is to create it. Regardless of what's coming through in the world, I create my own tomorrow. And I create it knowing that I have a partner who sees everything. That's number one. The other thing is, fear is not just, God doesn't advise us not to be fearful. He actually instructs us not to be fearful. And that's why the fearful and the abominable are characterized together. So fear is something that should not be in our vocabulary as believers. We can be afraid, but we need not be fearful. And I hear people saying a lot, do it afraid. Being afraid simply means, frankly, if you're doing stuff and you're not yet afraid, then I think you're in your comfort zone. And that's not going to help anybody today. So being afraid is not a problem. It shows that you're attempting stuff that you haven't attempted before. What you cannot be is fearful. What's the difference? Being immobilized or looking backwards, driving with the rear view mirror, that is being fearful. Being afraid is knowing that, hey, this is stuff that I haven't done before. How can I position myself to do it properly? Regardless of the sort of emotions that are going on within me, I step forward. I don't wait to be totally comfortable before I get ahead and do it. So I just thought I should knock down some of that a bit more that Christina spoke to. And of course, she made a very important point as well around the fact that while 42% of jobs are going to be done by machines, going forward, or work hours, let me use that term. 42% of work hours will be done by machines going forward. 16 to 27% of jobs will be extinct. The flip side of the statistics is that about 27% new jobs will be created by 2022. So these things are balancing out. The question is, am I taking advantage? Am I looking at what is coming and positioning myself? Both from a question of, and parents, this is great for us as well. It was mind-blowing for me to hear Muturayo last week say that her 10-year-old son was trading on the international market. And I sat back and I said to myself, that's a new level. But then I thought to myself, you know what? But why is it a new level? Isn't this exactly what you're talking about? So why are you why is it a surprise to you? Younger and younger, we need to be pulling our people, and kids, young people, we need to be pulling ourselves. One of the other things Moturaya said last week was nobody owes you anything. And it's the same thing today. Having this conversation is my responsibility. Now, having said all of that, let's start to talk about, so what sort of general skills should we be preparing for? I think already Christina has mentioned two of them: problem solving and the ability to sell. And the ability to sell doesn't mean that you're necessarily a salesperson. It simply means that you're able to communicate in a particular way that you are able to convince people about what you are doing. Okay, so those are two critical skills: problem solving, solutions focused. I remember last week Pastor Diolu said that Nigeria, and I dare say Africa, is a land of opportunity. Why? Because problems abound. So, and where problems abound, solution providers are going to be in high demand. And that's why, there's a lot of fuss about, I want to go abroad, I want to go abroad. I'm one of those that I'm very happy living in Nigeria. Excuse me. Why? Because it does, especially today, it doesn't matter where you sit. It doesn't matter where you sit, as long as you can see problems and you can find a new way to solve them, you're in business. It can be a problem as small as, look at who created the pure water industry. It was simply taking water from bottles and putting it in a nylon bag. That was a problem. So the key thing is, let us see opportunities where other people are seeing problems. So we have to be solution focused. Okay, so that's one of the things that Christine had said. She'd also mentioned learning agility. And I just want to differentiate for a minute between learning agility and cognitive flexibility. Learning agility is critical. The workforce of the future must be learning agile. What does that mean? It means that you learn quickly. It also means that you embrace learning. Okay, you go out to look for it. You don't wait for it to come to you. When we were growing up, training was something the organization did for you. Now you have podcasts. You can go online, you read yourself, you do stuff yourself, you learn yourself, you own your own learning. That's part of the pool of learning agility. It still goes back to nobody owes me anything. The cognitive flexibility, on the other hand, of course, learning agility is embedded in it. However, it means that you're able to switch easily from task to task. Okay, you're able to move quickly because, and hey, folks, at least two of you are in the consulting world. This work is project-based these days. You don't stick to one single thread of work throughout. You're having to manage sometimes 5, 6 different projects at the same time. So you're moving from one meeting where you just spoke about a whole project that's prior to now will be one person's full job, and you're moving to the next meeting where you're managing. So that's cognitive flexibility. We must be able to switch from task to task. And that's even more important today when we're working from home. Usually when I'm working, I have my kids sitting across from me. Sometimes there's questions around homework. I have to be able to flip over, do that quickly, rush back, come back here and do this without losing my thread. That's cognitive flexibility. Okay, so those are 3 skills already. Problem solvers who are solution focused, learning agility, cognitive flexibility. Now here's the other one: emotional resilience. This is really, really important. Why? The rate of change is rapid. And the statistics show that change is one of the things that makes affects the mental well-being of employees very quickly, right? And as the rate of change, look, a few years ago, we talked about rate of change in centuries. Then we started talking about rate of change in decades. Then we started talking about rate of change in years. People, the rate of change is now in days. And, you know, perhaps the younger people may even disagree with me that it's no longer days. Before we finish with 4G, 5G is here. You know, I have my mobile phone. You know, my children make fun of me that this Samsung that I'm holding is now, it's old. You know, and I'm thinking, what's wrong with it? It can do everything I want it to do. So there's now S-Kiniko. It's okay, you know, but you know, the point is that the rate of change is rapid. And so we must be emotionally resilient. What's the meaning of resilience? It means we're elastic. Okay? So just think about a bow and arrow. We must be strong. No matter how much pressure that is drawn on us, we have to be able to take that pressure and bounce back. So emotional resilience is very important during these times. It's even more important because not only is the rate of change rapid, the challenges that people are facing are multiple at the same time. So, okay, so can you just imagine someone, like Christina said, who was the star boy of the firm before coronavirus hit, and suddenly no more money coming in. Now he has to deal with that. He has to deal with the fact that he has to provide for his family. He's not making as much money as he used to. Maybe he's even lost a job. He has to then consider, or maybe he owns a business and he has to now think, I have employees, 10 or 20 of them that I have to pay for. At the same time, I have customers that I have to help, because sometimes the customers do not know the sort of what they need anymore now that stuff has changed. You know, you have to try and work through. So emotional resilience is critical for the workforce of the future. And here's one that is very important: collaboration. Yeah. So the days of sitting in my own single cubicle and being able to get stuff done are gone. And you cannot, how did I get to know Christina? I got to know Christina. Christina runs works with a consulting firm. I run a consulting firm. Now, we were putting forward a particular methodology, which is actually focused on enabling people for the future of work through using game-based learning and gamification. And, you know, in the old days, we would have been seen as competitors, right? You know, that's the way it worked in the old days. But now the competition is your collaboration. If you don't do that, you're going to be very quickly out of business. Same thing as career people. And I think we can take this even to school work, okay? Because we have a lot of young people who are currently in school. At a point, I had one of my children who said to me, you know, she'd been doing very well in school, and she then thought, oh, this person is coming up and trying to beat me, and I don't like her. And I said, come. See, the fact that somebody else is first doesn't mean you cannot be first. What's wrong with co-first? Excuse me. Nothing wrong with co-first. So the best thing is that person should actually become your friend. Let us read together. Let us study together. Let us learn from each other. Cross-pollinate. So collaboration is a key skill for the workforce of the future. So I've said a couple of things, and I will just recap them. We started from the start, you have to be technology enabled. You have to be solution focused or a problem solver. Christina had said you have to be able to sell. So communication skills are critical, whether written or oral communication skills. You must be learning agile, which means you must be able to learn quickly, and you must be willing to learn, own your own learning. You must be emotionally resilient, elastic, and you must be collaborative. So those are the few things that I can share within the time frame we have to speak to sort of skills we need to start to consider for the workforce of the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Uba. So Christina, will come to you. I see you are, itching and eager to contribute to that. But, still on Mrs. Uba, there is a comment you made when you were listing the skills that we need, and you said emotional resilience. Please, how do I develop emotional resilience?
Okay.
What does it even
thanks
mean?
for the question, Patience. So I can speak again to what it means, but I think I'd said spoken to it before, but I can spend another minute on it and then we can talk about how we develop it. So there are two words in there. There's emotional and there's resilience. So resilience is elasticity, strength. Okay. So it's not just strength in terms of how hard something is, because iron is hard, right? But we're talking about the sort of strength that is also flexible. Okay, so that is resilience. Whatever comes at you, you're able to take it, but not just take it rigidly, but take it in a way that you're able to flex with it and adapt to it. Okay. Now, when we talk emotionally, we're talking about how your feelings, because many times when we're talking about work, many times we only think about thinking skills, right? Or mental skills. Emotions are a lot about how we work, and that's why emotional intelligence is a big thing in the workplace today. People who cannot manage their own emotions are going to be very, very poor workers. They're going to be very, very poor business people. Okay, so our ability, just imagine I'm working and with someone and he tells me, hey, this work is crap. How does that make me feel? Of course, it hits me. So the question is, do I take the fact that he's insulting me, or do I simply say, okay, what exactly is he talking about? Is there truth in what he's saying? I own my feelings, I address them, and then I flex to decide what do I need to do differently. So that's an example of things around emotional resilience. How do you develop it? You develop it simply by using those skills. So it's muscular. The first is that you have to know that it's important. My emotions are part of my work personality. And then you have to consciously read. Okay? Read to understand the different sort of thinking around emotional intelligence, emotional quotient, etc. So two. Then secondly, consciously be aware of how you are feeling and consciously address them. Okay, so that's the way to develop stuff. It's muscle, so it's like growing muscles. It's like growing muscles. So I've said three things: be aware that it's a part of how you work, it's a part of your work personality. Secondly, read about the subject, understand it. And thirdly, be aware of your own feelings and how you react to certain stimulus and what you should be doing differently, consciously, to react differently. Christina, did you have anything to add to that before I hand over to Patience?
Thank you so much, Mrs. Uba. I think you really have covered a lot of things about emotional resilience. What people must realize is that we're not trying to turn people into dummies in the workplace where you don't feel. No, that's not the point. Your feelings are valid. Your emotions are very valid and important. In fact, organizations, I mean, one other thing I'm very keen about is employee experience. So we talk about customer experience. I am also very keen on how organizations design employee experiences. I feel like in the world of today, life has come to meet work and work has come to meet life, so to speak. So before you could, as you could go to work and on your way back from home, just decide that you're deleting everything that happened in the office. And as you're coming home, you're arriving as a different person. You will just not bring up anything about work. But now, your family and you're all together in the same place. So you're working from home. Look at this example. You just did something, you sent it to your superior. Mind you, you're home, maybe you're married, your children are there. And that same job, you just got a response from your superior saying, just like the example Mrs. Uba gave, this is crap, right? In that moment, you're going to have an emotional experience that if you do not have the skill of emotional resilience, you would pass it down to your children or to your spouse or to anybody who is within range in that moment. So you see that this thing about emotional resilience is so critical that you can take that kind of feedback and be able to relate with the person next to you, and they will have no clue what you just suffered emotionally, that you have moved, that you're able to receive that kind of feedback, take it in with strength, and not let it break you. And I think this is very important. Allow me, please, mention at this point. I mean, this is something I talk a lot about in my book because I think it's so important. this emotional mastery thing, talking about self-leadership, I try to shine the light a bit on emotion, because I see that, for example, with feedback, and that's such a critical place, especially for us who work in employment. How do you receive feedback? How do you receive conversations with your employer? You know, some of you, the moment you even see that your boss's call is coming in, your heart beats triples. Your heart begins to race. It's just your phone is ringing, the call is coming. You're already expecting the worst. We have to, I know what it's like, I can relate, but you have to go past that, because that's not even healthy for you. You have to be able to be resilient enough to deal with pressure from work, pressure at home, and still be standing, still be somebody that can have a good time with yourself, with your family, and this is very achievable. Like Mrs. Uba said, it's not something that will happen to you overnight. It comes with practice. It's like developing a muscle where you practice, the 4 dimensions of emotional intelligence, from self-awareness to self-mastery to social awareness to social expertise, or what we call relationship management. Those are the 4 parts of emotional intelligence that you need to read up on, get informed. There's a lot of material about emotional intelligence and emotional resilience. Go read up and start to practice it. Take every challenge that life throws at you as a test of your emotional resilience. Become aware and start to practice, especially now that you're young. Now that for maybe by chance you're unmarried or you don't even have children, you just have yourself to deal with. You're living with your parents and you're already having emotional trauma. You're not even working. You just feel like what your parents are doing to you is too much. I just want to leave the house. I just want to move on. Calm down. There is so much more coming your way. You will soon find out that your parents are the nicest people on earth. Whatever pressure you're dealing with there, a customer will give you double, or your employer might give you so much more. So you have to begin to build that resilience today. Go and read up and take it that from now on, I want to pay attention to being emotionally intelligent. Don't be somebody that, someone says something, you're always in the side of apologizing, because you just respond more like, no, not even respond. You react to everything that happens. That's a pointer to you that your emotional resilience is really low. You're someone that your friends are always, you're always at par, always running into difficulty and friction with people. You just can't be at peace with everybody. Even the scripture says is that we should be at peace with all men. So take that to the workplace. That includes your employer. That includes your troublesome boss. That includes your difficult boss. That includes your difficult customer. How can you be at peace with all these people? Emotional intelligence is a tool that you want to leverage and begin to practice from today. That's what I'll say about that. And please, if I can just also add to the conversation about skills that are needed, soft skills, general skills. Mrs. Uba has already shared a lot of it. And I must say that as she was speaking, I was almost like, hey, is she looking at my notes? Is there somewhere? Because I remember that I was literally writing collaboration and then she says collaboration, like, oh no, she took that from me. But yes, she said all of that. I just want to add 2 things to it. Now, during this lockdown period, I had the opportunity to have conversations with employers of labor, HR people, and I saw a trend. And this is really what led me to writing the book that I published. I literally wrote that book in a matter of weeks. I started the project in July, it was out in August. And the reason is I was seeing that pressing need. Okay, fine, I started to write Dear Young Professional. Almost 2 years now, I've been doing a weekly publication on my Instagram page titled Dear Young Professional. But then just coming and seeing the conversations that were happening, how much people before now, you just think that, and this is what led me to a model I have called the steward. While I was reading my profile, they were reading my profile. You may have heard that, embracing the culture of excellent stewardship. There was a time when it was just okay to do your work. We went on and said, you know what, serve, give your heart and serve. Serving is good. But in today's world, in today's workplace, you need to take it a step higher. You need to move from serving to stewarding. Now, the concept of being a steward is something I learned from scripture. What is it in basic, simple English? A steward is someone who, the one who works, just come, just do your job and go. The one who is trying to serve, okay, I want to give myself, I want to really serve. Nice. Maybe you're well-behaved. You make sure that whatever is given to you, you do it well. But the steward is thinking about, they've given me 1, how can I make it 5? How can I be a part of ensuring that we are more profitable in this organization? The steward is someone who is not just committed to their job description or their job role. They are thinking about the objectives and the goals of the organization. For a steward, the corporate goal is as good as their personal goal. As a child of God, if you're a steward, as you're praying about your personal goals and your own goals, you are praying about your organization's goals also. Why? Because scripture says it too. In the prosperity of Jerusalem, you would prosper. In the prosperity of your organization, you will prosper. This is not a time to be like, you know what, times are difficult. Can I just look for where are they employing now? Where can I move to? How can you be a part of ensuring that your organization does not only survive in this time, but would actually thrive? How would you be a part of bringing up ideas from where you, even if you were just in operations, you're just in accounting, for example, while, maybe the consultants are doing their thing, me, I'm just, back end operations. How can what you're doing translate into lesser cost, easier processes, more profit to your organization? If you're not thinking about that, you are not a steward. The steward mentality is, I've been given 1. How can I make it 2? I've been given 5. How can I make it 10? How can I multiply what has been given to me? How can it be that by the time I leave this current employment, they will look back and say, somebody was here? There's some people that in the organization you work, you've heard certain names being called upon a lot of times. So person when they were here. Why? They did something differently. They came and ensured that whatever process they met, they made it better. They made it easier. They made it faster. So that steward mentality is so important. Organizations are looking for people who are entrepreneurial. And Patience mentioned that. Now you have to be thinking like an employer, even though you're working as an employee. You have to be able to put yourself in your employer's shoes. You have to be able to be proactive. Employers are so desperately in need of that skill, proactivity these days. It's like, I don't want to be the one to always tell them to do stuff. Can you think ahead? Can you project? And if you only have I'm just here to do my work, I cannot come and kill myself, it's not my father's business, all these things we say in our generation, they cannot produce an excellent employee out of you. And you know why this is important? Because one day, as I wrap up, one day, you also want to go on and own your own business. You want to go on and start your own thing. If you have not practiced stewardship with your employment, you will struggle to multiply stuff when you start your own thing. Stewardship is you literally practicing to be a business owner while you're an employee. It's you bringing all that energy and all that drive and all that thought and all that intention into an employment as if it were your own business. The gain in that is when you move from there to doing your own thing, which is what a lot of young people want to do now. I want to be my own boss. I want to be CEO. I want to be founder. Great. There's room for more enterprises in Africa. But we are also seeing a lot of failed businesses because people just think that it's a walk in the park to transition from being an employee to being an employer. Ask the employers. It's no joke. All right. While you were sleeping, they were thinking about how to pay salaries. So you have to use your employment as an opportunity to begin to practice stewardship so that when you're ready to make that, and the closest I can think about, I talked about this also in my book, apprenticeship. That's a system that works for the eastern part of Nigeria. Go and study that system and see what they do there. Those guys don't come and work as, I cannot come and kill myself, not my father's business. They give their life to their oga's business. And that's what ensures that in no time, they are ready to get freedom, and that boss will set them up and they will do their own thing and they will thrive. If you go and watch that system in Eastern Nigeria, it has worked. It has produced more successful businesses than any other part of this country. That's because those guys don't just come out from nowhere and just step into being business owners. They have stewarded. They have seen to it that their oga's market was selling. They have taken it personal to ensure that the stock in the shop went out, that the process from producer, from supplier to customer was seamless. They were at the heart of that, even up to the small things like even ensuring their oga ate. Basic stuff. They were so involved. By the time they were ready to do their own thing, they understood the process end to end. So guys, I'll wrap up with those two additions. Be a steward. That is so critical. Be proactive. And of course, emotional resilience and every other thing that we have shared, so important. Please don't leave out selling. In these times, if you cannot sell, you're selling yourself, selling a product, selling a service, if you cannot sell something, and this is not, when you think about selling, don't think about the guy on the street stopping you and saying, "Okay, come and buy insurance." That's not what I'm talking about. Just being able, like Mrs. Uba said, to be able to communicate something you have. I have value. How do you get somebody to buy into what you have? Whether it's yourself, your skill, your product, or your service. These things are so critical. And in today's world, there are so many things about selling that have moved from what we used to know selling to be to what it is now. There's the digital side to it. There's copywriting. There's all those great things that have to do with selling. You need to be someone who can sell. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christina. That was a lot. For everybody who is listening, I hope you are taking notes. Even myself as an anchor, I already have, a 4-page full of notes from this session alone. And I will definitely go over them once the session is over. So very quickly, I would really, really like to do a recap of some keynotes that you have said, but, we are pressed for time. I want to take some questions from the comment section, and we have some questions already. I'll hand over to my co-anchor, Chukwuka, to handle that.
Thank you so much, Patience. Thank you so much, Christina and Mrs. Uba. It's been such an amazing session so far, really intriguing, and there's been a lot of engagement on the online platform. So we have Fragia Goldberry, forgive me. We have somebody here asking a question, and he's asking, so what career path can you advise me to take in high? He's someone who's currently in high school, so he's asking what career path would you advise him to take?
Okay, great. So the question is this person looking to go into work straight from high school? Just to clarify.
And so his career path then determine what course he will then study in university.
Okay, so he wants to know what course to study, not okay, that's clear. So there are so many factors.
Yes.
It's hard to just be like, go and study X or go and study. There's so many factors that come to play when a person is trying to choose a career path. One thing I know that is very critical in these times is whatever thing you're interested in, because your interests come to play, your passions, your passion, your talent, and interest is very key, because that's something that we find lacking for a number of people, and it then becomes a gap because you spend 4 years doing something you're uninterested in, you come out and you finally go into something you're interested in. So it's almost like, what did I spend all that time doing, right? So interest, passion, talent, those are things you can put to play. You can also look at what if you're in science or arts or commercial class, what subjects am I doing really great at? What do my friends, what do my teachers say I'm very good at? And how does this fit? Because what is now important is to then be informed such that, thank God for the internet now. You can go up and read up. If, for example, you're considering being an accountant, go and read up on the skills that make an accountant, that make a great accountant. Now, do you have those skills? Or are those, so for example, some people just like to play and jump, but you don't even like numbers. But I just heard that accountants, they dress up, like the way they dress up, go to bank and all that. Hey, go and read up. All right. Now, when you see the skills there, hey, am I in for this? Or is this something I'm ready to commit to? So being informed is key. You can also, another thing that can help inform your career path is sometimes, you see someone or you've come across one or two people that feel like, I want to be like this person. What is it about them that you like? So go and sift through, see what they study. If it's something they studied, you want to be like them. Okay, can I also study this course? Do I want to follow this path? And then you go and read up a lot more about that course or that profession and see what you can study today that can position you for that. So those factors must come into play. Information about the trends, all right, your interests, your passion, the skills, your strengths and your weaknesses, and also maybe the people that come to you as attractive or that you really enjoy. And of course, as a child of God, there's also a very big place for prayer and counsel, seeking the counsel of people who have gone ahead, and also praying for God's direction.
Really amazing insights. Thank you so much, man. Thank you very much. And we have another question here from Wali Dada, and that's similar to the question that Quinslin has also asked about you then trying to innovate in your organization, but then you are not then allowed. So whether it's your employer or your superior, you're not allowed to then innovate in your organization. What can you do in that situation? Ms. Suba, would you like to answer that question, please?
Thank you very much, Shuka. So, great questions, and these are some of the things that we have to face on a daily basis. I remember a wise man once said to me, the world is actually your stage, not just one particular employment. What I do in my employment is a manifestation of who I am, across. So let me first say that my ability to innovate and go beyond the norm should not just be targeted at work. It should be a part of me. Now, let me now come to what happens when I'm at work and there's an employer or my immediate supervisor, because it seems, yes, my immediate boss has a challenge. It could be one of two things. You know, one of the things that I've found out is that many times when we have ideas as a team member, our expectation is that my boss must accept that idea, right? It's not compulsory, it's not by force. You know, you have to recognize that the boss is the boss. The buck stops on his table. So what do I then need to do? I need to create that idea in a way that he sees that it is beneficial to him. There's this thing, you call it an FM station, WIIFM. What is in it for me? Okay, so write it down. That's an FM station you want to focus on all the time. Whenever Christina talks about the ability to sell, okay, I have to be able to sell my ideas within my organization. Convince the boss that what I am proposing is good for the organization, but it's also good for him. And be willing for the boss to take the glory. Okay, this is a hard one for a lot of young people. Okay, it's my project, it's my thinking, it's my innovation. I must be the one in front of it. It doesn't always work that way. That's the truth. Flip side is we always also tell leaders, be willing to give the glory to the person that brought the idea. But the truth is that it will not necessarily happen that way. And as a subordinate, I must go in with that mindset. I'm a steward. Christina, I just absolutely loved that because it runs through the thread of everything. I would say it's not just a skill for the workforce of the future, it's a skill for the workforce of all times, whether yesterday, today, or tomorrow. And if I go in with that mindset, I must basically say, look, how can I position this such that my employer sees, or my immediate supervisor sees, that this is for his best good? And I must be willing to do it in a particular way that it doesn't look like I'm simply trying to put myself in front. In fact, there are ways that you can do this that in the long run, the boss will believe it was even his own idea in the final analysis. So the critical thing is to get the idea out there. And what is your advantage? The advantage, because somebody will say, if they don't see that I'm the one that did it, then how is it benefiting me? It's benefiting you because you are learning how you do it in your own business. You're learning how you do it in your own business. That's one. The other thing is, you may think that people are not seeing, but people are seeing. Even when you are not there, your peers are seeing. Even that manager or that boss that you think, have you been in a situation, I'm sure some of us have been, where there was a boss that you thought was a challenge, was always pushing. He moved to another company, and the first person he calls to come and join him is you. So I think that pretty much answers the question around that. So be sure that you're not just doing this to get into the limelight. Limelight will come, don't worry. If you are doing good stuff, you're doing good work, you're positioning yourself correctly, limelight will come. It's compulsory. But it's important that you remember that in the final analysis, to be able to get your boss to buy your idea, or to get the company to buy your idea, it has to be clear that this is more about them and less about you. That's where you will become a valued employee, but you cannot position it as if, oh, this is me. I hope that helps.
Definitely does. Thank you so much. Ms. Christiana has already given you a virtual round of applause. Thank you very much. Yes, so we have one more question, and then I'll target that to Ms. Christina. And this is more around the lines of, so someone asked the question of how do you manage, so reading your portfolio or reading your profile, we see that you are involved in spiritual matters, you are involved in corporate life, you're involved with personal work, and then you're also then involved with family life. How do you then juggle your career and then juggle your entrepreneurship to then ensure that nothing then laggers?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for the question. I was actually looking forward to answering that because Patience did mention earlier. So first thing is, the first thing for me is being a child of God is an advantage. And I'd have to emphasize that because Christ is the anchor. Like, what that means is in God, you have, like, I'm trying to, say it in as few words as possible and not take us into an entire sermon. But the truth is, once you have your anchor right in God, everything, your life is just basically eternity finding expression. Eternity finding expression in your home, in your work. And you must, as you give attention to your walk with God, He loads you with the wisdom to be able to ace every single aspect of your life. Because at every point, you may be looking at your career as a whole lot, but there might just be one thing you need to do in your career in a particular season that will be a game changer. That one thing might be, there might be something in your family there's just a little adjustment you need to make somewhere that would be such a game changer, but you would only get that wisdom if you give attention to the wisdom of God in the place of prayer and study. Like, being a Christian is not just religion, it's a lifestyle, it's a relationship. You have the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is your helper. Scripture says is a very present help. What that means is that as you go about your life, you need help with, doing well at this and doing that. You have someone who knows the end from the beginning, who knows that this is the person you need to call now. Sometimes you're having a difficult time with something at work, and the Spirit of God just gives you an idea, just call so person, and in seconds, it's done. That is, if I had to say what is my superpower to getting stuff done, the Holy Spirit is my superpower. And I mean that in a simple, this is no religion intended. I don't mean to sound like a Christian, but that's really my superpower, okay? The other thing is understand your season and give attention to what is priority in every season. When we think about work-life balance, we think about it as just having everything at the same time. Possible, but what I find is because life happens in seasons, even God created times and seasons, every season of your life will require certain levels of devotion. When you understand your season, you know where to prioritize and give the most of your time to. So, for example, in one season of your life, for example, as young people are youth, by chance you're not married, you're young and out of school and everything, this is such a season that you need to make the most of, because there are things you can do in this season that will speak for you or will serve as an advantage in the seasons to come. So in my season, for example, when I was, unmarried and all, there was a way I worked. There was a way I worked. There was hours I gave to work that helped me build a pedigree and move fast, such that before the next season was coming, I was already at an advantage. But if I let that season go past, I was playing when I was supposed to be working and all that, by the time I come into the next season, it begins to feel like I'm struggling because I didn't do what was needful in the previous season. So understand your season and be able to prioritize. You can't expect yourself to perform at the same level at work just after you have a baby. Having a baby is a new season that requires a new level of priorities. You see, you give what is needful in that season and let the other things follow. But when the season switches, you also make the necessary adjustment. The final thing I would say is that the people you follow or look to as examples are very key. Are they people that help you see that you can be anything and everything? Are they people that paint a picture of possibilities? Are they people that help you see how you can? I have coaches, I have mentors. I'm not self-made. That's something I cannot claim to be in my lifetime. I have been helped by God and by men. So you don't have all the answers. You may be going through a difficult season. There must be people you can talk to help you say, no, you know what, give attention to this. Give attention to that. So I have paid coaches. This is not even just people that like me. No, I pay for coaching. And that's important because I don't have all the answers. Some seasons I feel everywhere. But once I talk to my coaches, my mentors, they help me shift my focus to what matters. So give your attention to those two things, especially as a young person that is looking to rise and be multi-influential.
Thank you very much. Thank you so very much. Mrs. Uba, would you like to also then share insights concerning work-life balance, knowing you a lot more intimately and the number of things you're also then involved in?
Frankly, I'm not sure how much there is to add to what Christina has said. The only thing that I would like to say is, I was smiling when she said you have to prioritize, at certain seasons of life. And it reminds me of the conversation I was having with somebody last night. I said the truth is that term work-life balance, I think, can sometimes be very deceptive, because the truth is that you can never be fully balanced. It will never be. It's like saying, okay, you have life and you have everything. Maybe you have 4 or 5 sectors of your life and everything has to be 20%. That's balance. It's not true, and it cannot be true, and it's not even required or advisable. As Christina said, you have to recognize what is critical at this time and pay attention to it. Again, I keep saying a wise man said, and Christina has mentioned the requirement of having mentors that speak into your life. It is so critical, because somebody has to look one day and say, see, you're letting such and such a thing suffer too much, and draw you back, to what needs to be priority. You cannot afford to lose the place of people. The Yoruba people call it onibawi, right? People who can speak to your life. That's really critical. Now, again, to knock down the point around being able to prioritize what is important, I had somebody who says, he wasn't particularly speaking about work, but he was speaking generally. If something is going to grow, something else has to suffer. That's the truth. It can never be 100% balanced. So if I am going, there are certain seasons of life where, there's something we do or there's something that is considered for women who are re-entering the workplace, because in some societies, when a woman is having children, many of them actually just leave the workplace, right? So there's a recognition that, you will leave the workplace, or you will have a career slowdown. There's that view that you possibly have a career slowdown because you are looking to grow a family and are having to focus on other things. But also sometimes now workers are recognizing that these sorts of people, and I'm using women as an example, you actually don't want them to leave the workplace because they have capabilities, they have skills, and they are making accommodation, they're accommodating them, right? So now I want us to take that mindset of accommodation into our own personal lives as well. Okay, and say to ourselves, in this season, it could be that for the next 1 month, there are certain things that will have to suffer for something to move forward. And then, but I need to know that this thing is only suffering temporarily, because I must make the necessary switch to ensure that the things that are truly important in life do not fall by the wayside. And I dare say that is one of the biggest challenges for people who are success focused. So remember that in the final analysis, the things that will count for you. So look at all the stuff we're talking about, workforce of the future. It's all here. That's the truth. The only reason why it is important is because it is a reflection of who we are in Christ. In the final analysis, it is part of how we would have represented Christ to the world. So we have to remember that that is the ultimate goal. Having borne that in mind, then I have to know that what are the key priorities in life. Support is also important when you're talking about work life. The type of support system that you put around yourself is critical. This time I'm going to talk about a wise woman, and I'm going to mention her name. Chairman of First Bank, Mrs. Awoshika. So this is a woman that is extremely successful. And I dare say this is a woman that is successful, not just in the workplace, but successful at home. And I've been in a place where she has spent 2 full days investing in women that she considered developing women or growing women that could impact the future. And one of the things that she said very, very clearly, which is absolutely 100% correct: if you succeed in the workplace and you don't succeed at home, you failed. That's the truth. And we have to. So I keep saying women, because I'm a woman. This is not just something for women. This is something that applies across board. So this issue of balance for us as young people, for us as developing professionals, and for us as already perhaps developed professionals growing into executive roles of business, it's important for us to put first things first and know that true success is not measured by how successful I am at work. It's measured by how successful I am in all the spheres that God has placed me in. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. This has been really, really engaging. This has been really enlightening. Thank you very much. We have just one more question, and I'll quickly direct that, Mrs. Zuba. So someone here was asking a question around can't I just go to university and get employed? Do I need to necessarily learn a skill? Isn't it just a Nigerian factor that we have graduates here who are unemployed? How about in other countries where people get out of school and then they get jobs immediately? So what are your thoughts on that? Do we necessarily need to learn skills, or should we all plan to leave Nigeria and then plan to get jobs immediately after school?
So
I think while you're answering that question, Christina, maybe you can also take a follow-up question that says, what if I want to learn a skill and I don't have the resources to learn the skill? What do I do? I mean, I cannot come and kill myself. So let's hear from you on that.
We're going to take Mrs. Uba first. Can I please go after her? Because I was itching to hear what she says.
Okay. So the question I'm basically being asked to answer is, can I just go to university and then get work? Is it just Nigeria that has a problem? Let me tell you, the question of unemployment is not a Nigerian thing. Unemployment rates are high across the world. Okay? See, a lot of the people who leave Nigeria and go to the abroad, if they tell you the jobs that they're doing there, you will not even attempt to go. So they put up a face and say to you, it's great, all is well, whereas the jobs that they're doing there are not jobs that you would even go near if you were in Nigeria. So I'm not saying if God is leading you to go abroad, don't go abroad. Though. That's not my point. My point is that my green field or my green land is wherever God has placed me for today. And I must recognize that my success is not about my location. It is about who I know. Or rather, as somebody said last week, who knows me and wants me to succeed. Okay? Who is Jesus, first and foremost. Okay? So that's one. Now, having established the fact that unemployment rates are high across the world, is it possible to just come out of school and get a job? And it's very possible. Very, very possible. In fact, I say to people, I've been working since before I left school. At least I was in year 4 when I actually started paid employment. And I can even go all the way back from that. My first job was in my mom's shop. Year 2, we had this long strike, 18 months. I see many times we have a misconception. And that's another thing we need to say to young people. Be ready to start down at the bottom. Many times we're looking at the top and we want to start as CEO. The people that are CEOs went from somewhere, okay? It may not be that they started in that company as CEO, but they will have learned things in other places. My very first job was as a sales girl in my mom's shop in Alade Market. This was in year 2. I was a law student. I would get to the shop by 7:30 in the morning to mop the floor, clean the shops, put out ashoke. We were not selling books or digital, we were selling ashoke. Okay? I learned how to go to Adire Market in Surulere. I learned how to go to Isenyi in Oyo, is it Osun State now, Oyo State, to go and look for ashoke. That's when we started growing entrepreneurial skills. Okay? So the scope of where we get our experience is life. It's not, so education is great, education is needful, education is critical, but true education is beyond university. And I will take somebody who has those type of skills before I take you with your first class. And this is real life. When we are hiring people, if I have 5 first class graduates, like Christina, and I have, a second class lower graduate who has demonstrated problem solving skills, who has demonstrated resilience, who is able to say to me, I'll give you a good example before I stop on this question in just 2 minutes. I'll give you a good example. There was a gentleman who came for an interview in a place I was hiring for a few years ago. It's about 15 years ago now. And this was a first class graduate of banking and finance. So not one small course. And so I had really high hopes, but I was concerned. I looked at the CV, and this first class graduate didn't have any experience. This was like 7 or 8 years going. So I said, okay, what's going on here? the person came for the interview and everything, and I, was asking the question. I said, okay, so what have you been doing since school? He said he's been trying to get a job and all that. Okay, so that's fine. But I said, what have you been doing? I didn't say what job did you have? What have you been? I've been trying. Now nobody's hiring. I just thought to myself, nah, 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 nah. This is definitely not somebody I'm going to hire. Okay, not because his degree was third class or second class, but because this is somebody who is going to come into my company and is simply going to sit down and wait to be told everything. Okay? So what we are looking for is not just university graduates, we are looking for people who have grown their skills. So your skills are important, okay? It's not just about your university degree. Learn to grow your skills and learn to grow it across board. Use life as the springboard for learning skills. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll just...
Thank you very much.
Okay, can I just jump right in? Yes? Okay, to the other part, and everything Mrs. Uba shared is just so apt. What is the difference between just being first class and having all these skills? You can just be book smart and book smart only, and it will not serve you right. So while back then they told us as parents, just focus on your studies only. Just come out with a first class grade. But I can tell you, I was not only reading my books when I was in school. In fact, I had my first job from my summer holiday 100 level. I was 16. I worked in an employer with an employment rather with an employer. What was I doing? Very minimal stuff, but because I was in the working environment, I was learning a lot of things already. All right. I worked all through every summer I was working. Even while in school, I was engaged. And this is very important. I'm saying this for those people who are in school right now. Our parents are right to say we should read our books. As you can see, I did not drop the ball with my studies, but I also did myself well to get involved in many other things. So I was a part of the university's debating team. So I was going from state to state, at one point even outside Nigeria, debating on various content topics around the economy and stuff like that. I was a part of an organization that helped with entrepreneurial skills, where we expected to do some things in school, an entrepreneurial, and then come for competitions. I was very active in school fellowship. I was a leader. So by the time I was out of school, I was not only a university graduate, I was armed with very relevant skills. And those are the skills. So now you're saying that, hey, they're telling us to come and have 5 years experience as entry level. What they are looking for is experience with certain skills that you can get while in school. So be book smart, but also gather all these other skills. Get involved, volunteer, do stuff. Don't only go away from class and just go and play with friends. Be very intentional about what you give your time to, especially when you know where you're heading to, a market where there's limited jobs. There are limited jobs, but there's endless work. Few jobs, lots of work. So straight to the question of the person who says, I don't have funds to get through training myself on the skill I'm interested in. See, money. This is what I know as a child of God, and I've seen this happen in my life a lot. Money is just one currency. Favor is also a currency. Money is even just one. There's so much I've achieved and gotten done in my life with no money. Let me tell you the honest truth. When I was getting my book printed some weeks ago, I had, if I tell you how much I had in my account, you won't believe it. And I was publishing a book. I was in a season where I had, put money in some investments. It was taking some time to liquidate, blah, blah, blah. I didn't have cash. And it was literally going to stall the project. But guess what? Everything was paid for and done. Nothing stalled. That's because there's another currency that is not money that made sure those things happened. All right. So if you're in a position where you don't have funds, I'm asking you, what are you doing to earn money? Are you working anywhere? I mean, even just being in church, there's a way that, I want to say this very shortly, but my point is, money cannot stop you. Money should not stop you, not even as a child of God. How are you serving in church, for example? That will make someone call you and say, young girl, what are you doing? What are you up to since you left school? And then you get an opportunity to say, oh, I'm doing this, but I'm also trying to, and someone literally pays for it. I remember the first time when I had to travel out of Nigeria for a conference, my parents were out of town. There was a bit of money issues. I needed to pay for my passport. I had a very short deadline. Someone in church, I was just praying and saying, God, you have to make a way. And I went to church. To get stuff. I served my normal capacity. Someone just called me after church, say, Christina, how are you? What's going on in your life? I just got talking and just mentioned that in passing. This person paid for it. For 3 years, I lived in a house in Lagos, in Lekki, Lagos, Nigeria, that I did not pay rent for 1 day. 3 years before I got married. Why? Because those people knew me from church. They knew me as that teenager, that young person who was always there serving, just being out there and giving. When I needed a place to stay when I moved to Lagos, they were more than glad. I didn't live in their house. As in, they gave me a BQ, a whole space to myself, and I lived there for 3 years without paying a dime. Why am I telling you these things? Because money cannot stop you. If you're doing the right things with your life, money would never be a limitation to you. And I can tell you this from experience. How are you working there? Now, there are free things online. You can leverage those. Please go online and check that out. But make sure that you can also go and get a job, no matter how menial it is. Go and do something where you can get some payments. Position yourself where you can be seen, where people can engage you. Go and volunteer. And of course, pray. Ask God to make a way for you. But there are many ways that God can make a way for you without having a dime in your account. You can actually learn that skill. Another option is go and volunteer, serve somewhere where you can learn the skill real time. All right. And if you get paid nice, if you don't, you get to know, even experience the skill, not even just paying for a course, but actually experience that thing being done and then gain the skill to be able to move forward. So please, money should never stop you, not as a child of God, no.
This is where we give standing ovations. This is where we scream. This is where we shout. Oh my God! This is.
I need to unmute my camera to clap.
I mean, these are professional. They're not just consultants; they're executive consultants. So these are people that coach CEOs, heads of multi. What do they call them now? International organization over here in Nigeria and abroad. And God bless you. Thank you so much. And they get paid a huge amount of money, and they're here giving all of this for free. Thank you so very much. Let me see your excitement in the comment section. This has been so rewarding. Thank you so much. I'm blessed. Honestly, I've taken so much. I've taken like 1, 2, 3, 4 pages of notes. Even as an anchor, what about you that's been totally invested here? It's been really exciting. And I'll hand this over to Mr. David, who will then give us trivial questions that will then you've been hearing Ms. Christina talking so much about her book. This is her book here, and you'll be getting 3 copies to people who answer our questions correctly. So over to you, Mr. David.
Hear me? Hi, okay, if you can hear me. Okay, so I am live at the Adeidunnu Viewing Center where we have young people, young folks who are watching live. They are right behind me in there, and I don't know, but I would have wanted them to say hello, but it's fine. Okay, so everyone, welcome. Okay, if you can hear me, Adeidunnu folks right behind me, can you make some noise? I can't hear them, but they are right there, Okay, so welcome. It's time for the trivia questions for today. Okay, question number 1. Let's see. What is driving the change for the future? Okay, just making their noise now, folks. Okay. So, question number 1. What is the driving change for the future? What is the driving change for the future? Let me see the comments. Okay. I can't see live comments. Question number 1. Let's see. What is driving the change for the future? I can't. You know what, Chukwuka, could you, if you can hear me, can you continue? I can't see live comments. My network.
That's fine. That's fine, no problem.
Okay.
So the question is, what is driving the change for the future? To give you some expo, this was stuff that Mrs. Christina already mentioned during her talk, that there's been a lot of change. Mrs. Bowser then mentioned about how how the workplace has changed from March up until now. Within the last 6 months, there's been a lot of change. And there's one thing that's at the heart of that change. So I'm seeing a lot of comments. Yeah, listing out the skills, but that's not exactly what she mentioned as what is driving the change. I think we'll give it to Samuel July. Yes, congratulations. So she mentioned about consumers' demand is what is driving the change right now, and then gave the example about banks. So yes, Samuel July, congratulations. We get our first prize for today. I'm so excited. Well done. I hope you are, sir. So yes. Next question will then be, Brother, would you like to take this, or I should write on?
Okay, before you go on, Brother David, I would like to say a special thank you to our panelists for today. It has been an awesome time. It's because I want to release you people. That is why I am doing this now. So thank you so much, Mrs. Christina Soname. Yeah. And then Mrs. Adeidunnu Uba. This was, such an inspiring and profound session. And we really appreciate, and I hope very soon in the nearest future, we get to be in the same room and you get to deliver this much knowledge and wisdom to us. Thank you so much. I have been so inspired. I can only imagine what is going through the minds of all our viewers. Thank you so much. God bless you for all you have shared. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Patience. Chuka, okay, let's continue with the questions. So question number 2, what are the 4 aspects of emotional intelligence as mentioned by Mrs. Christina? 4 aspects of emotional intelligence as mentioned by Ms. Christina. Grab your pads, quick. Waiting for answers. Give me the answers. Who wants to win this prize? Okay, I can see someone. Cognitive flexibility, learning agility, emotional resilience. Oh, okay. I wanted to say Ojuru, but I saw the name there, Olive. Chukwuka, do we give it to Olive? Cognitive flexibility.
How many books do you want to win now? Do you want to become a supplier? You're answering questions again. Please. So
no, but Olive's comments came before his.
So yes, I saw Olive's comment, but unfortunately, it's not correct. So you mentioned about. So the question was more around. The question is 4 aspects of emotional intelligence, and not the skills. So she listed out which was the next question we're going to ask, and now we're not going to ask that question anymore. So
exactly.
those were the skills that will then prepare you for the future of work, which is like the present of work that we are facing right now. So you mentioned the skills, but not the aspects of emotional intelligence. She listed it very briefly.
4 aspects, yes.
Yes. So if we don't get any response, we'll just go ahead and ask another question then.
It doesn't look like we have an answer for that. But people are still commenting.
So they're listening. So cognitive flexibility, emotional resilience, communication, all of those are the skills that will prepare you for the future of work, not the aspects of emotional intelligence.
Okay. Well, people seem to be confused on that question. So a quick one. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
One of the facilitators just dropped the answer now. So, well,
I think without the answers.
Yeah.
Let's read
Not
the
too
answers.
many people. Not too many people caught it when she said it. That's what I think.
Yeah.
She said it once very quickly and moved on. She didn't exactly.
And moved on. Yes, exactly. So Chuka, give them the answers which Mrs. Uba just dropped. Can you see it on the chat?
Yes, the answers are, so number 1, self-awareness. You have to be aware about your emotions and how you feel. Number 2 is self-management. So after you're aware, you then have to manage these emotions. And then number 3 is social awareness. How aware are you of other people who are around you? And then relationship management. So those are the 4 aspects. So if you didn't take that in your notes, please take it down now and then write it. So number 1, the 4 aspects of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. Mr. David, we'll just go ahead and ask another question.
Yeah, the third question, and probably the final question for today. What is first movers advantage? What is first movers advantage? What is first movers advantage? Chap, 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 chap. Type the answer. Chap, 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 chap. Chap, chap. First movers advantage. And I'm going to try and see if I can go inside. Okay. What is first movers advantage? What is first movers advantage? Chap, chap, chap. And I'm going to try and see if I can go inside.
So yes, finally, Olive wins. I think we'll just have to give it to her. Thank you very much, Olive. So yes, cash out. Yes, so and that is being the first to type is also first movers advantage. So first movers advantage is basically being the first to launch. That is first movers advantage. So thank you very much, Olive. You're our second winner of the book. Congratulations, and thank you for your resilience, which is another skill that you have also then shown. So it shows that you're basically learning and you're basically ready for the future of work. Some people in our age group doing that. Would you like to give a big screen to the world so that we can hear you, we can see you there? I know it's take a couple of seconds.
All right, make some noise.
Make some noise so we can hear you.
They're saying you should make some noise so they can hear you. All right, that's it. I have to mute my mic because of the feedback from the screen.
That's fine. That's fine. So we'll take one more question. We need one more winner. We're giving out 3 books. I mean, this is we're being very, very gracious today, and thank you to Mrs. Uba, who is willing to give us all of these amazing resources. We heard how much Mrs. Soname has talked about the book. This is it, so you know what it looks like. Dear young professional, you might also then want to, she mentioned about her posting it on social media. Just search her name on social media and it will definitely come up. If you also want to view Mrs. Uba, although she's a lot more private individual, you can also then search her organization, Simply Unforgettable, and then get amazing insights from there. So this is the book for all of our winners, dear professional, dear young professional.
Do we have Chooks, do we have one more book?
Yes.
Are we done
with
the gifts for today?
We have one more book because one question was not answered.
One more, yes. One more.
Was not answered. Okay. So last question and for the final winner for today. Ladies and gentlemen, what is cognitive flexibility? If you listened attentively, you should quickly type out the answer. What is cognitive flexibility? So I'm watching out. Do we have someone already? What is cognitive flexibility? Waiting.
And if you don't have a winner, I get to take the book home.
No.
Because we will need to round off this session very quickly.
My lord, may I approach the bench?
No,
my lord, may I approach the bench? Oh Lord. Okay, we're having answers. Olive, we can't take answers from you. You have one book already.
I think we not take the next person, which is Josiah, who answered the question
okay.
Already. So yeah, Josiah mentioned the ability to move from task to task, which is really effective. So well done, Josiah.
So it's Josiah.
Although this is second mover's advantage because the first mover already won.
Because the first mover already won.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, David.
Lots of thanks, announcements we have, and then we close for the day.
Yeah. So
yes. All right. So let me just quickly say, I understand that we have folks in Benin who are also clustered and are watching, and so everyone, wherever you are watching, you could send your pictures to the phone number which will also be announced. So let's just see your pictures. We could share them tomorrow. You just saw the folks from Ejigboye, and then wherever you are watching from, please send us your pictures or a 5-second video. Thank you. Bye. Patience,
All
over to
right,
you.
thank you very much. Well, thank you very much. So there's not much announcements to give than to tell you to, or implore you to join us by 5 p.m. this evening as we join our senior pastor in the evening session. So I'll be expecting you there, be expectant and join way before time so that you can be in the mood to expect and receive the word of God. God bless you. Thank you for listening. See you in the evening. Bye-bye.